lies will be exposed.
And all lies shall be exposed. And we got ourselves a show about censorship, the media, and things that finally make me go, finally, we're getting some answers that are long overdue. And in this day and age, we need to stand up to media suppression. We need to call out these hypocrites in corporate media and all around the world. And I have a special guest joining us here. But first, we were going to have him on in January, but there was obviously some, rescheduling has to happen. Unfortunately, it happens in this business. But there was a video in question in which my guest, Will John, was confronted by a person of high integrity who's still wondering about, warp portals over the Pacific Ocean and planes disappearing, none other than Don Lemon. And because the way things are falling apart, it's very apropos that we at least play this video before we bring him on, because the beginning, as my fans do know, is a very delicate time.
I speak 9 different languages, and I'm just running around trying to talk. How many languages do you speak?
I speak 1 language. I used
English.
to speak 2, but I don't know much.
No, what was
I
that?
used to speak Spanish.
You
I
used to
can't remember a lick of it.
Give me something.
I took 3 years. Hola, ¿cómo está?
Estoy bien.
Oh, good.
Gracias.
Okay, bien.
What are you asking people?
My personal favorite, ¿Cómo estás, pendejos?
I'm asking people, do you think TikTok should be banned?
I'm doing fairly well on TikTok, so I don't know if I don't know. Why should it be banned?
Well, the U.S. government is trying to ban it.
Yeah, but why?
Because they don't want China getting our information.
I'm not down with that.
China owns ByteDance, or
But does that
the parent company of TikTok.
Does that necessarily mean that they're sharing our information?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. I'm a common citizen. I don't have any sort of intelligence community connections or anything.
You're on TikTok.
I am on TikTok.
You have no concern about them having your information.
No, because I'm publicly sharing that information specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I'm good with that. But I don't want them having any other sort of information that maybe they can get to through the app.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't read the terms and conditions. They might have access to other things. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that answers your question. Why didn't you read the terms and conditions?
Who reads the terms and conditions?
Yeah, I do read the terms and conditions.
You read all
Some people do, some people don't. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
the terms and conditions
I do.
of every single app that you have on your phone.
Absolutely 100%.
How much time do you
That's
have?
a lie.
I don't have a lot of time. You can read it. If
That's
you can
a lie.
spend as much time as you spend scrolling through that app.
Sure.
Now, hold on. There's more to this, but I want to bring on the guest right now. Shout out to Will John. Thank you so much, Will John, for joining us on this day, because in that point in the year of 2025, the first month of this year, the year of the snake, TikTok was at the precipice of being censored or being removed off of existence. And we are now in interesting times in which the media is being revealed as the false institution that it is, because they are losing to regular people, independent media, as well as all other social media platforms. Now, we're all concerned about that. But before we have this conversation, before we go a little bit more into the video, especially where you trigger Don Lemon, please, for my viewers and subscribers, introduce yourself.
Well, what's up, people? And listen, Kit, I appreciate it. I appreciate you reaching out as well. I am at times a tough guy to explain. So as concise as possible, I basically can say that my trade is a professional soccer player, footballer. For those of you in Europe, I played in the MLS, which is the highest league in the US, and then spent most of my time here in Europe. And a few years ago, I started a media company, and we have three sectors, one within football, one within languages, and then entertainment, of course, running into guys like Don Lemon and squeezing the lemon, as they say, is another thing that I do.
You don't want to be squeezing those lemons, okay?
So yeah, that's me, more or less.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us here. But what I find interesting, because I've been watching some of your content in regards towards having conversations, free speech. We here at Hardlands Media, we have been censored, and there's been a lot of people who I know who've also had their platforms permanently terminated on either YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and it seems to be the ongoing cycle of suppression. And because of this, I think it's important because you have a large following on TikTok. In regards towards what the Biden-Harris administration was doing, at least during their final years of that time frame, what was the overall feeling for you, and at least what you have built for your network in regards towards having it potentially being destroyed? Because, like, at the end of the day, I don't care where people politically align, but if you manage to make a good business for yourself, and no matter what genre you're covering, be it independent media, entertainment, sports, whatever, having that gone because the government is afraid that your information is going to be sold, even though that happens here in America with Facebook, Instagram, Google, all of that. What was the mindset? What was happening with, at least with you and your team? What were you guys preparing for that eventuality? And again, right now, TikTok's future is still in question, but I just wanted you to share that with our audience.
Yeah, so we've actually prepared ourselves fairly well for the TikTok and the censorship. We've been going for several years, and we have been getting censored for a hell of a long time. We have on guests that are controversial, that are constantly saying things against the government, regardless. And much like yourself, I am an independent. I have issues with which I align with more in the Democratic way or the Republican, but I'm clearly an independent. And the censorship that we experience is actually one where it engulfs not wanting your public to be informed when they clearly already understand something's wrong. So I want to put that there as the key theme. It's as we know that we need to talk about these issues, they know they need to block certain issues. If you are on a line with what their the legacy media understanding is, you can basically say whatever you want. Once you hit a certain subject, it's gone no matter what. We had on 2 neuroscientists, for instance, to discuss cannabis, just in general, the problems, why cannabis was illegal, certain drugs, certain other things, whether this versus alcohol, etc. Whole thing just censored. No, can't talk about that. We've had on David Icke, who's controversial. We've had on, former Secret Service for the Clintons, censored, gone. No, can't talk about it, right? And so we've been preparing for this for quite some time. And my hope, and obviously what happened with Don Lemon and Elon Musk retweeting it and us hoping to get an interview with Elon, our hope is that it's changing, period.
I keep sharing this with my audience. Hope in one hand, crap in the other. See which one fills up faster, because we've been doing this now for 8 years, and at least with our war stories, we dealt with YouTube making these accusations too, especially when we were covering stuff like with Julian Assange, we're covering the election or other controversial stories too. And it's very interesting to see, and then the amount of times we've dealt with YouTube and other media platforms in regards to at least keeping our show around, and more importantly, ensuring that our audience knows, because at the end of the day, you also build an audience here, and I'm very proud of the diverse audience that we have built here. But the thing is, what is interesting now is that the very same people, the guardians of the media, are now telling us that we can't speak to each other, or either that they're now in full-blown panic because their institutions are falling apart. Case in point, MSNBC and CNN. After the election on November 5th, I did 2 live streams, but after the aftermath of the election, when Trump won, my phone was being hit up by a lot of people who I collaborate with, and also people who watch the show, and said, "Hey, Kit, did you see CNN's numbers? Like, why would I care about CNN's numbers?" And it's going to bring up right back to Don Lemon, because I'll talk more about how this conversation happened. I saw their numbers, and their numbers are dwindling. Like, when Trump won in 2016, corporate media got a huge boost because that was their bread and butter, and now it's the complete opposite. And so, in this mindset, it's showing that people are tired of the same propaganda, but yet again, there's the danger of, okay, one dinosaur is dying out, something new will replace the niche, and that is what we see on big tech, those big mainstreamers. But now with the revelation of USAID, it's showing that Politico has been given money to a lot of people, and I'm wondering just how deep that rabbit hole goes, because I think we know a lot of people who have somehow boosted themselves up and somehow got millions of followers out of the blue, and they somehow become authoritative. It's almost as though they got themselves a boost. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the point of, we kill one dinosaur, but something else is going to bubble up. And if you're, I'm a lover of history, specifically ancient history, but of course American history.
Do you think of the Roman Empire?
Of course, of course. But yeah, no, listen, once we've established that the legacy media, and it's a beautiful thing to watch it in America. I would say, living in Europe for so long, I watched it deteriorate, where they don't have the cultures are massively different, but this sort of apathy against the legacy media over here happened before it happened in the US. We're seeing it sharp now, where it's F legacy media, basically, in the US at this current time. But as that goes on, to touch on your point, of course they have to come up with something next. And to bring it back to Don Lemon, Don is that second phase of trying to do that, because what he does is he's gone. We fired him from legacy media. Oh no, he's gone. And he pops up in independent media with his own platform saying the same thing, saying the same exact things, trying to do the same thing to people in the street. It's just a new form of the legacy media posing as independent media. And so we all have to be aware of who's compromised, who's this. I mean, it's not really a surprise to us that Don is doing that, but this whole form, it's just they're going to try and repeat until they can find something that they can scale up in the way that they scaled up the legacy media. And we all have to be aware that they're going to try, you know?
Exactly. And so let's rewind back the clocks. Obviously, you're on TikTok, you're doing your social media. I mean, that's your business. That's what you got to do. And you're out there in the streets. Where exactly was this conversation taking place? Because somehow Don Lemon seems to find you, and this conversation happens. And we played the first part of it, but what exactly? Because I mean, there's probably a little bit more to it. So can you, before I play the rest of the video, can you just explain, like, you wake up one morning, you know, get your team all set up. Where are you at? How did this happen? What's going on?
It is a fascinating story. So the day was to wake up and to go into Little Italy. I speak Italian, and I mentioned that at the beginning of the video that I speak 9 languages. And I went to Little Italy. We did a video there. We're speaking Italian in the streets. A lot of fun. Then we went to Washington Square Park. You know, so one of my videographers, he's a New Yorker, and said, "Hey, this is a great place to interview people." Okay. We go there. We're setting up. And the thing is that I didn't know Don Lemon. Like, I knew his face, you know, he'd been on CNN for almost 15 years. You've seen this guy if you've been in an airport.
Right. Yeah. That's torture. I consider that to be a war crime.
And so I knew that he was a thing, but I didn't know who he was. He's a talking head on the news. That's it. So my videographer recognized him, said, "Hey, that's that guy." We go about our business. And he started walking towards us and pretty much asked if he could interview me. I'm not sure why he thought I was just going to be a walkover. I had a microphone in my hand. And so it's a bit crazy, you know, that was there, but it's completely random. You know, we did not expect to interview him. He didn't know we were going to be there. It was completely by chance. But there's one small thing that people don't know. He has his videographer. We have ours. They put their stuff out first. They did not put any of the stuff that you're seeing. This whole interaction, if we had not had a videographer there, you would never have seen it. Ever.
So in other words, controversial statement here by Hardlands Media in 3, 2, 1. They did a 60 minutes Kamala Harris edit for your conversation. Is that hitting the nail on the head, or is that
pretty much it? Yeah.
Okay, so obviously we're gonna play a little bit more of it. So if there's a point you want me to pause, or there's something else interesting that did happen, let's go ahead and pull this up here, because
sure,
I think we should all laugh at Don Lemon just a little bit after so many years of CNN giving us that neoliberal garbage. And just like in the Fantastic Four trailer, everybody, we're going to sit down and watch it as a family.
To take some time to read the terms and conditions.
I just can't imagine that I could spend all that time, because if you have more than 10 apps, that means you have about 11 hours to read the terms and conditions. Yeah. You're an impressive man.
Yeah,
you are a very impressive man. I couldn't do it.
Well, that's a lie. Who is the real president-elect, do you think?
Well, Donald Trump won, I believe.
Democratic lawmakers in Washington are calling Elon Musk President Musk now, and they're saying Donald Trump is the vice president or the head of communications.
What's? Wait a second. No one said that.
Really? Have you not watched and paid attention to the
Absolutely
news?
Not. I'm paying attention to what I'm doing during my day so I can try and get a better life and get ahead.
Okay, do you have your phone with you?
I do.
Why don't you Google right now?
Yes, tell me.
President Musk and see what comes up.
No. Well, who's behind that? Because if that's propaganda, then there's no point.
Just go look.
All right. I'll Google right now, President Musk. But that's already a loaded question, you realize, right? Because if I'm doing that, because if I Googled President Don Lemon, I'd probably get a lot of people that are saying, well, let me do it. I'm just saying. All right.
I find it interesting that he is bringing up Elon Musk here. Now, the thing is, look, Trump, hey, to the internet overlords, Trump is the president of the United States, but also number 2. As much as it's clear about Elon Musk, everyone seems to be going after him and vilifying him. He's not the first billionaire to have influence in Washington, D.C. And the only reason why this is getting any kind of approval or whatever Musk is doing is because it's coming from Trump, because Trump wants that, or either that he could also benefit from it. It's a whole Game of Thrones mindset in Washington, D.C. And so this whole idea of vilifying him, because I'm hearing on the one hand, Democrats and liberals calling Trump Hitler 2.0, and then he's a puppet, and then he's another kind of puppet. We all know that politicians can be bought and owned. It's all one big game. It all depends. It's like that great question that Varys asked. You know, 3 men are trying to bribe a sellsword. You have a rich man, a king, and a priest. Power resigns where men believe it to resign. So when he was bringing up Elon Musk, you're going to be bringing up the sources here. What sources popped up first for President Musk?
It was Axios, Business Insider. There's a few. CNN, I think, was there, and you know, it was to be expected, of course. And just to your point there, it's not to say I am team Elon or that he doesn't hold influence. Of course he does. It's the problem isn't that. We are aware, just like you said, that billionaires and people with money hold influence. The problem is in the way that you are trying to shape the way that I think. And that's the big problem, right?
Exactly. And the thing is here, I just want to add a little spice of humor. Shout out to one of my moderators, Mastermind. If you Google President Don Lemon, all you get is Euphoria fan club memberships. I'm not going to Google that. I'll do that after the show, Mastermind. My audience is too brutal. Sometimes I wonder where they learn it from. We learned it from you, Kit.
I'll do that. President Elon Musk.
Are you just President Musk?
President Musk. Democrats rage at unelected co-president Elon Musk new power. So what's going on there?
Okay, so why don't you believe me?
I don't believe.
I read the
the co-president. The second in command is the vice president, J.D. Vance. That's what I remember. I don't know.
Conditions. If you're going to be out
But
here
that doesn't
asking
make it the
people
news.
questions, then you need to be informed.
It doesn't make it the news, though.
Okay,
This is only one
that's
form.
Okay, so tell me, give me the sources. Just scroll through.
Axios, Business Insider.
Oh.
We don't trust
Keep
any
going,
of these. The
keep
common
going,
man doesn't
keep
trust any
going,
of this.
keep going.
ABC News,
Oh,
Washington
keep
Post,
going.
New York Times,
Oh, keep going.
The Atlantic.
Oh,
I don't trust any of these.
Oh.
I don't trust any of them.
Okay.
I don't trust any of these. We're the common man. We don't trust any of these. No one trusts the government. No one trusts the common news. We don't trust any of that anymore.
Well,
Independent news. We are the ones that own the news now. People trust me. They don't trust MSNBC because I care and I'm actually one of them.
All right. So I'm
That's what I'm saying.
independent news now, so I can't disagree with you.
Okay.
Because
Well then.
I get a lot of people coming to me saying, I only
I'm
watch
just
you.
saying.
I don't watch corporate media anymore.
Right.
So having said that,
Mm.
have you been seeing these UFOs,
We interviewed somebody from Homeland Security yesterday.
Yeah. And what do you think?
Me personally, I don't know, and he doesn't know. I'm only concerned by the fact that nobody seems to know. Why can't I get an answer? How come nobody knows? That's my only question. I don't know.
You're independent media. Why can't you buy?
I don't have a drone. I need some billions of dollars. Give me some money. I'll go open the drone and find it out for you.
Is it concerning to you?
Not at all.
Why not?
Not at all, because I don't see any other reason to. There's a bunch of other things I don't know about that probably should be more concerning.
Yeah.
But the drones, no.
Yeah.
Not yet.
My mic's bigger than yours.
Okay, now that is again pretty odd that he just said it to you like that, and I would be like, "Excuse me, sir." But then again, Bad Cookies is saying, "Why is Don Lemon acting like this is a gotcha moment?" I mean, that's how it's perceived. He's trying to do the whole "I got you" moment. Shout out again to my viewing audience. You guys are all get it, and also, Menelita says Don doesn't get it. So let's talk about independent media because yes, an argument can be made. Independent media is the new media, but, and I say this as somebody who's seen others suffer far worse than I have in regards to being censored and suppressed, because now there's a new form of suppression, a jackboot that I'm very worried about. And I still get messages from people, hey, we're not being notified. Hey, I was unsubscribed from your channel, and it does happen. I was unsubscribed from the Jimmy Dore channel, not once, but 3 times. And if I want to unsubscribe from somebody, I'll do it myself. I don't want any overlord to do that. But there is this hunger for information and conversation. That's one of the beautiful things about the internet is that's the exchanging of ideas. And I don't want people to just agree with my perspective and point of view. What I tell my audience is do your own research, look at other people, and come to your own conclusion that you feel is correct So that way you're informed and you could help out your community, talk to your friends and family members, and break away from the machine that is the CNN, MSNBC corporate media apparatus that has been lying to us for a good portion and has successfully divided a lot of Americans. But I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, it's that mentality that needs to be pushed, not the one that says, we have the answers, listen to me, I know what's best. It needs to be a, listen, go out there, inform yourself, challenge yourself, listen to people who are open, that are having debates or at least conversations with opposing viewpoints, so that you can then be informed, right? We, for so long in the US, gave so much faith and trust into our legacy media that we are all so appalled at the fact that they abused their power in telling us all sorts of nonsense, right? And so now finally we're going, all right, like enough. And so we don't believe anything, which is also a danger, because now you have the common citizen once again trying to figure out how to deduce truth. And that makes it very hard, right? And so it's human nature as well to search for a guru, a savior, someone, one source to save it all, right?
Don't search for a savior, folks. Don't do that. Sorry.
Exactly. No, that's all. I want to see a push for people to inform themselves, to understand that they have to constantly be evaluating the information that they're getting and informing themselves in a way that will allow them to choose better within the world. That's it, right?
Well, and another thing too, and while we still have a little bit more time on this, it is interesting seeing that now that CNN and MSNBC are letting people go, cutting their pay salaries, and they're going to be laying off a lot of people, and most notably the people I feel sorry for are more the people on behind the scenes, the camera crew, the technicians, the people who make the shows active, not the actors. I'm sorry, I mean journalists. Journalists that are in front of the screen. I feel sorry for the people behind the scenes that actually do the work. But we are seeing these same quote unquote actors, journalists now trying to come to our space and get a huge boost and somehow have their relevancy. But it's almost as if they're trying to do what Tucker Carlson did. Now, I have my differences of opinion with Tucker Carlson, but the difference is like when he left Fox News, his audience left with him. That is the difference between Don Lemon and everybody else that's right now trying to come into our backyard. And you could see that, yes, there is that influence of control, but how do we break that control? And more importantly, how do we really stand up to big tech? Because at the end of the day, it's the algorithm that dictates what people can see. And even if you have like a diehard following, you're going to get isolated messages from people saying, hey, I'm not being notified. I'm unsubscribed. How do we stand up against this machine when it's quite clear that, here in America, in the United States, you have the two-party system that still wants to control that narrative, even though that machine of theirs is dying?
Listen, civil disobedience is a very powerful thing, and we are under, and not just America, but the world. Let's say if we want to truly divide things, you can divide them between the elites and the rest of us, and there are not very many elites. We're all pretty much in this together. We are under a psychological attack. There's psyops that are being performed. And this is proven. This is not conspiracy by any means. It is a tool and a means of control. And propaganda has been there since before we've had the means of the internet and TV in order to do it, right? And so it will always rest. The power will still always rest with the people as long as they understand that they have to stick together in order to do it. And so fighting against tech is hard because the number one rule of their psyop is obviously to distract. And because we're distracted, we can't pool together the power. All right. And so number one thing that every person can do is regain their power of concentration and attention, because that's what they're doing. They're just telling you need to care about this or care about that or be afraid of this or of that. And so if we want to do anything, we have to take our attention back. All right. Put the phone away for a second, read your content and other stuff. That's what will do it.
I think that's a very good note to end it on. So look, I know there's a big time difference where you're at, where I'm at. So obviously it's very late where you're at. So we're very appreciative that you took time out of our day to join us in our morning here in Chicago. So I just want to say, if you want to take any clips from this video, share it on your social media, please feel free to. I also want to pull up this, folks, the link to his website, gowilljohn.com. will be in this video when I clip it. I'll post it over the weekend, so that way everyone will be able to share it on their social media, share more of the conversation. We do invite you to be back onto our show when that can be done. So is there anything that you want to promote, any interviews, what time your show comes on, where people can follow you? Hey, floor is yours for the final question. What's going on?
Well, listen, for all of this sorts of stuff, we are revamping entirely, obviously, with all the stuff that's going on and the mention on Joe Rogan and the Elon Musk retweet and stuff. Our Twitter is the place where you're going to want to find all this stuff. So we're revamping all of that, and we're going to be putting out all our podcasts and clips and things along that. So that's at Golarami, G-O-L. Yeah, my middle name is Olaremi, but for football and soccer reasons, Golarami. You can find me on all social media with that alone. And so TikTok is Golarami, Instagram is Golarami. Even if you type it into YouTube, I have several channels, but you can type that in there. So that's where to find us. If you have an interest in languages, you'll find us there on YouTube. Obviously, it's soccer. But for this sorts of stuff, Twitter is probably going to be the place to be, because over the next month or two, you're going to get a whole lot of new stuff and some very interesting interviews that I would even love to come back and tell you about.
Hey, no problem. We're happy to collaborate in the future. If there's any projects you're interested in doing, hey, just let us know. We here at Hard Lens Media, myself, Daniel, and our team, we're more than happy to get things pushing forward and hopefully standing up against this wave of censorship that is very concerning. But who knows? You, the people, you have to lead the way. So without further ado, Will, thank you so much for your time. Folks, we're going to continue on with the rest of our show as well. And to our Can TV audience, I'll be watching this on Can TV. Check out Hard Lens Media on YouTube. But also, folks, we're on Rumble, Kick, X as well. And also, please follow Will John on all of his social media. We're going to be wrapping things up. And Will, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Radio station just censored the word devil. Clearly, we are on a different level. I guess you wouldn't notice all the rolling boulders crashing past your shoulders when you're taught to shift your focus lower, scream at all the pebbles. Cheering on the bombers because you can't abide the rebels. But I bet you'll wring your bloody hands when all the dust has settled, when the last little limb is pulled from Gaza's twisted metal. Then you can say how you were led astray, and never once in all your days would you have knowingly supported all the genocide for which you clapped and prayed. But they baited you with unconfirmed blurbs about babies until you were filled with rage. Yet someone told you babies had been starving, bombed, and caged for nearly 80 years in Gaza, and you looked the other way. So regret, but make it fashion. Go and pluck that final petal off a hyacinth on Instagram for every kid they kettled. Every son that Israel imprisoned when they're little, that they tortured for a decade, then surprised with their acquittal. And when they got released and saw their parents and whatever siblings hadn't met the missiles, they stared right through their middle. Their eyes don't seem to focus, and their words are all but dribble, like they're pondering the darkest riddle. That is, how many false flags does it take to make humanity inhuman and uncivil, distorted by the revel? The crooked slant where Israel contorts into America, Biden bathing Bibi in a bloodbath in the bevel. I opened up my feed and I saw children disassembled. Turned some music on and heard the station censor devil. Imagine thinking Doja Cat's a threat to moral fabric in the single largest terror cell that ever felled a temple, that ever sparked a cleansing, that ever burned a market, that ever raped with bayonets or carpet-bombed apartments, that ever turned your water off and left you in the darkness, left you doing surgery on children while they're conscious. You sing the devil's praises every time you sing our anthem. You sing a hymn to him that watched us birth a million phantoms. You'll proudly wave his flag, and yet you will not name the devil? Well, clearly, we are on a different level. I can give you names, shit, I'll give you several. They say the devil wears a different face for every general, like a composite of the char he brought to fields of emerald, and the wail of every childhood we made ephemeral. So who else has left the stain of blood on everything they touch? Who else can starve civilians and they don't so much as blush? Who else has paid for Gaza being flattened into dust? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. That's U.S. What an ugly couple letters. Feeding shit and ignorance to those it chose to tether. From the river to the sea, both are slowly growing redder. For the devil that you know just knows you better. It knows every gut reaction it could ever make you feel. It knows fear is that which wakes you up and gets you on your wheel. It knows just the kind of story that will justify its war. And the scripts are wrapped for World War IV. So just imagine my surprise to give the radio a listen and to hear such pious morals out of Zionists and Christians that they'd take the devil's name and try to clip it from existence while they carry out his bloody business. You would wave a fascist flag, and yet you honor not your Iblis? Name you not Apollyon? Hush you now your witness? Bleed the name of Belial till tongue is rolling listless in the man-made mouth of Mammon, as Lamia's whispers listen. When carts are wheeling bodies through the cities that we crushed, and the very air is rotten with decay of all that was, who else would censor devil yet behave as Legion does? If there's ever been a devil on this earth, then it is us. U.S., but not a unity of souls. More a mass of corporations turning houses into holes, turning people into puppets, turning puppets into mold, turning mold into nutrition bars worth their weight in gold because they're bombing every bakery and burning every field with phosphorus that never once has wanted for a meal. The devil wears a mask and it delights in the reveal, in that moment where the face is let to peel. We do not love the underdog. We do not cheer the rebels. We lust for all their blood until the dust has finally settled. Then pity just ourselves that we were so misled to revel. Proudly wave his flag, and yet we will not name the devil.